Today is Wednesday, October 2nd. We'll tell you some key takeaways from last night's vice presidential debate, including a couple of the best and worst moments for each VP candidate. And a major escalation in the Middle East. Iran sent nearly 200 missiles toward Israel. What to know about Israel and America's response now. Plus, new accusations against Sean Diddy Combs, why one state is banning some types of food labels, and the shocking scene caught on camera that's delayed the annual Fat Bear Week. Those stories and even more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, the first and likely only vice presidential debate was a civil, policy-heavy back and forth that focused on the top of the tickets more than the running mates themselves. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz faced off live from New York City last night. The two shook hands at the beginning, and while they definitely had various disagreements, both also spoke on where they agree on some points. And really, they both focused most of their attacks on not each other, but former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. They addressed questions on foreign policy, including the Middle East, climate change, immigration, abortion, and more. Overall, Vance is getting praise for looking comfortable and confident and honing in on the message that Vice President Harris has been in charge for 4 years and hasn't already done what she's promising. At one point, he challenged the moderators on the issue of immigration, and it led to both candidates' mics being muted as the moderators said it was time to move on. Walz seemed less comfortable on stage, though he did settle in more as the debate went on. In a bit of an awkward exchange with the moderators, he admitted he misspoke about his time in China when he previously claimed he was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square protests. But perhaps his most memorable moment was when the debate turned to the question of former President Trump's refusal to accept the results of the 2020 election. Walz directly asked Vance if Trump lost in 2020. Vance didn't answer, instead saying he was focused on the future. Walz called that a, quote, damning non-answer. Both running mates get right back on the campaign trail today in 2 battleground states. Vance will be in Michigan. Walz is touring parts of Pennsylvania. We'll have more analysis of this debate coming up in our special edition Saturday episode this weekend. Well, President Biden is set to survey the devastation in North and South Carolina today, and Vice President Kamala Harris will be visiting Georgia as the Southeast deals with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Former President Donald Trump has also visited Georgia. Hurricane Helene is now said to be the second deadliest hurricane to strike the U.S. mainland in the past 50 years, with the death toll climbing to more than 160 as of early this morning. And it's expected to rise as search and rescue efforts continue. While several states across the Southeast have been severely impacted, the most deaths so far have been in North Carolina, where the governor says some communities were wiped off the map by flooding, landslides, and sinkholes. Some residents in western North Carolina are stranded without power, water, or Wi-Fi that might not be restored for weeks. Emergency crews are working around the clock to clear roads and reach those still stranded. Thousands of federal personnel are also helping across several states. Federal officials expect recovery to be a multi-billion-dollar undertaking. In a major escalation threatening to push 2 of the most powerful militaries in the Middle East into a region-wide war, Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel, forcing millions of Israelis into bomb shelters. Most missiles were intercepted or missed their targets, and the U.S. military reportedly helped Israel defeat the attack. The barrage of missiles on Israel comes after a series of Israeli strikes on Iran-backed Hezbollah in recent weeks, including killing the group's leader and sending troops into Lebanon. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Iran made a big mistake and will pay, though what type of retaliation isn't clear at this point. And already Iran says it will carry out more attacks if Israel counterattacks. The Pentagon says the U.S. is discussing next steps with Israel. The U.S. National Security Advisor stopped short of urging restraint like he did when Iran carried out a different drone and missile attack on Israel earlier this year. President Biden emphasized America's support of Israel. The UN Security Council has scheduled an emergency meeting for this morning about the escalating situation in the Middle East. To be continued. Mexico now officially has its first female president and its first president of Jewish descent. Claudia Sheinbaum is a climate scientist, engineer, and former mayor of Mexico City. Sheinbaum comes from the same political party as the previous Mexican president, and she's promised to continue his agenda. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden led an American delegation to Sheinbaum's inauguration ceremony yesterday, and President Biden offered his congratulations. Of course, Mexico is the United States' largest trading partner. Plus, the U.S. government has been working with Mexico to solve the border crisis and the flow of illegal drugs. Sheinbaum and members of her government have told the New York Times she's prepared to work with whichever candidate wins the U.S. election in November. All right, we have more news for you still coming up. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Quince. It's officially fall now, and the weather has already gotten a bit cooler where I live. But saying goodbye to the summer feels easier when I can slip into a cozy sweater from Quince. Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from just $50, by the way. I also feel extra sophisticated and stylish with my washable silk tank, yes, washable silk, and organic cotton blazer from Quince. I love having these high-quality pieces without having to feel guilty for buying them, because all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Seriously, go look at their website. It's amazing. You'll see beautiful leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim, and so much more. So how are they able to do all that at such a good price? By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the savings onto us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. So get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/newsworthy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. Have you ever thrown away food that's past the sell-by or best before date listed on it? Well, California is trying to reduce that kind of food waste by banning labels that are vague and confusing for consumers. The new bill passed this week will get rid of phrases on packaged foods like sell-by and best before, since they don't actually say the expiration date of the food for safety purposes. Instead, use by or best if used by will be the only terms allowed, though food producers can also say freeze by as an alternative. It's the first state in the U.S. to restrict language like that. There's no federal standard for what dates should be printed on food except on baby formula. The new rules go into effect starting in 2026. Another new law passed this week in California is getting national attention as well. Starting next year, private nonprofit colleges and universities in the state can no longer admit students just because a family member went there or donated money to the school. This will affect major universities like Stanford and USC. And as part of the law, those schools will have to give reports proving they're not admitting students with family connections at unusually high rates. This issue of preferential admission treatment based on family and wealth really came back up after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled last year that race-based affirmative action in college applications is unconstitutional. California is now the fourth state to ban legacy admissions at colleges. Actor John Amos, best known for his roles in the miniseries Roots and the CBS sitcom Good Times, has died. His career in television, film, and theater spanned 5 decades. He played a weatherman on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and was cast as James Evans Sr., the serious, no-nonsense dad on the popular series Good Times. It was the first network TV show to feature an all-black 2-parent family, and Amos became a hit with viewers. He also starred as Toby in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots, which got him an Emmy nomination. Later in the 80s, Amos appeared as the owner of a fast food restaurant in Eddie Murphy's comedy Coming to America. And he continued to work in show business until the end of his life. Fans will be able to watch him in the upcoming show Suits LA. Amos actually died on August 24th, but his representatives made the news public just yesterday. He was 84. Well, there's now a whole new slew of accusations against hip-hop kingpin Sean Diddy Combs. A Texas lawyer says he's representing 120 people who accuse Combs of sexual misconduct. The accusers include 60 men and 60 women, and at least 25 of them were minors at the time of the alleged misconduct. Their claims span a time period starting in 1991 all the way through this year. Lawsuits have not been filed yet, but the lawyer says he expects that to happen within the next month. Combs' lawyers responded with a categorical denial, saying he never sexually abused anyone, let alone minors. Combs is already in a New York City jail awaiting trial on criminal charges, including sex trafficking. An 81-year-old rancher in Montana is going to prison for 6 months for, get this, cloning a giant sheep with enormous horns from Central Asia, and then using the clone to breed a giant sheep hybrid that he sold to captive hunting operations in various states. He achieved the complex feat in his barn using illegally trafficked tissue brought from overseas. The rancher's legal team said he should be congratulated for accomplishing something no one had done before. But the judge in the case was not having it and ordered prison time. Meanwhile, in Alaska, it's not a giant sheep, but big bears getting all the attention. It's Fat Bear Week. That's the annual competition that lets people tune in to a live camera feed set up at a national park in Alaska and then vote on the bear they think is bulking up best for winter hibernation. But this year, the event is off to a somber start because right there on the live camera feed yesterday, 2 of the bears fought and one of them died. So organizers decided to delay voting by a day to redo the tournament-style brackets they unveil each year. The National Park Service says national parks protect the wonders of nature, but also the harsh realities. Fat Bear Week will go on as planned. Voting starts today. And that's it for the main news, but now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this episode of The Newsworthy is brought to you by Wildgrain. This fall, treat yourself and your loved ones to fresh, bake-from-frozen sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries, as well as limited-time seasonal items like apple cider donuts from Wildgrain. Wildgrain's boxes are fully customizable. You've got the classic variety box, then they recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. As soon as I started pulling items out of our Wildgrain box, my husband started oohing and awing with excitement. I'm talking slow-fermented olive oil ciabatta, large flaky croissants, fresh fettuccine, giant chocolate chunk cookies, and more. And we seriously impressed our guests the other day by putting out this beautiful, delicious loaf of bread. Yes, they had no idea how easy it was for me. Get this, all items baked from frozen in 25 minutes or less with no mess or cleanup. It's amazing. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? For a limited time, Wildgrain is offering our listeners $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/newsworthy to start your subscription. That's wildgrain.com/newsworthy, or you can use the promo code newsworthy at checkout. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So it seems 10 to 4 may be replacing the more traditional 9 to 5 work hours, at least when it comes to commuting. The 2023 Global Traffic Scorecard found shifts in normal working hours are happening on such a large scale that it's changed rush hour patterns across the country. The data shows less early morning and late evening rush hour traffic than in the past. Also of note, there now seems to be an extra midday rush hour, and there are fewer breaks in high traffic periods than there used to be. Experts have attributed it all mostly to new in-office work cultures that emerged after 2020, where workers are used to coming and going when they want because of more flexible work arrangements implemented during the pandemic. Plus, fewer people are using public transit, which increases car traffic, another lingering effect of the pandemic. Some workers don't even bother with a 10 to 4 schedule. They practice a trend nicknamed coffee badging, where they pop into the office for a few hours or just for one necessary meeting and then go back home. One survey found more than half of hybrid employees have done this. No matter what the culture or policies are at a workplace, experts say it's just important that organizations are clear about the expectations. All right, thank you so much for listening today. We will catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.